Let's start. Before we begin our forum, let us take a moment to offer a short prayer. Let us bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord. Almighty Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather and learn together. Bless this forum and guide our speakers as they share their knowledge. Help us gain wisdom and understanding so we can use technology responsibly and effectively in our education. May this discussion inspire us to make positive changes in our learning environment. We ask for your protection over our internet connection and technology so everything runs smoothly. Bless each participant with focus and active participation. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our online forum on navigating ICT challenges in education. Today, we will discuss four major issues in ICT integration: freedom of expression and censorship, privacy and security, surveillance and data retention, and A pollutants from A waste. I am Kim Cyril Malinda, your host for this session. We are joined by our resource speakers who will help us understand these challenges and how they affect the learning environment. Before we begin, let us acknowledge our moderator, Mr. Matt Pina Florida, who will facilitate the discussion. Our technical team, led by Mr. Giancarlo Escol, will handle screen sharing and recording. We also have our timekeeper, Miss Ashley Cuderos, ensuring we stay on schedule. Kindly keep your cameras on throughout the session, find a strong internet connection, and take notes during the discussion as you will ask questions later. Let's now proceed with the discussion. And now let's shift our focus to surveillance and data retention. Please welcome Mr. Carl Barrete.
Hello everyone. Am I audible? Okay, in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the surveillance and data retention. So in this discussion, I'm going to be discussing how much of your life is being watched and stored. In this discussion, we're also going to be defining surveillance, data retention, and why it matters or why it is useful. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is corporate surveillance. So first, let's talk about the basic form of surveillance. So these are the basic surveillance such as the CCTV, the biometrics that you pass to the government, or like like any buildings that you subject yourself into, or any organizations for that matter. While we're talking about government surveillance, these are the documents that you pass to the government or the government that have um, access to. For instance, there are cases where a government allows the usage of data towards corporations. In this case, they allow the releasing of data towards the private corporations for their uses. Then the next one is the corporate surveillance. So in this modern age, it is very important to recognize the existence of these entities that have access to your data, such as company. This is the parent company of Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram. These platforms have major collection of your data in terms of your personal preference, image, like facial image, and the such. So let's proceed to the limitations of data retention. In terms in terms of limitation of data retention, there are three types that I have here: business, legalities, and retention period. So let's start with business. In terms of business, there are actually limitation of which they can only use your data in, for instance, analytics, customer services, and historical records. Now, even if these are sensitive data, they are allowed the usage of this due to these factors. This could help. influence the quality of life for their customers, for instance, and also their responsibility in keeping historical records. So next is legalities. So even if the companies or like any entities have access to your data, they are prohibited by legalities they have to comply to legalities in terms of distribution or retention of their data. So HIPAA is a law that states that entities do not just haphazardly distribute their data to any entities that might want it without proper grounds for it. And then the next one is the retention period. So since there are many types of data, that also corresponds with their retention period. So for instance, it is stated here that financial data or financial records are only allowed 7 years of storage. And then the basic surveillance, for example, CCTV, they're only allowed 14 to 30 days of retention period. So let's go to the good benefits or like the benefits of the data retention and surveillance. So first, let's talk about security. So due to the advent of the CCTV, crimes were reduced up to 13% in Baltimore. So that says that being watched could incentivize people to act accordingly or in accordance to the law. And then the next one is the public health, especially in the field of information dissemination. So we were actually primary ex- like we primarily experienced this event unfolding firsthand. So for instance, during the COVID-19 outbreak, we were able to track data in terms of public health and public opinion towards these outbreaks, for example. Then the next one is, of course, business intelligence. So, in terms of platforms, as I've stated earlier, is that they are actually using your data. In this case, due to economic
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barete. Let's give him a virtual applause, everyone. Up next, we have moving on. Our next speaker will discuss privacy and security. Let's welcome. Sorry. No. Our next speaker will discuss freedom of expression and censorship. Please welcome Daniel Laurel.
I am your second speaker on the freedom of expression and censorship. Censorship is telling a man can't have a state just because a baby can chew it. This means that if information is not disseminated, or if it is disseminated, everyone have the right to have access for it. So next is, what does Human Rights Act officially say? It says that everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This means that everyone should have the right to express their ideas, their views, their perspectives. Next is, we can express our views and opinions a number of ways, including books, magazines, and even in text. Next is, we can express our views in televisions or radio, and even on works of art. We can express our opinions through social media. We can post our 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 opinions, our feelings, but there are some exceptions. So, to remind everyone, we must respect the rights of others and use our freedom of expression responsibly. Ibig sabihin, kinakailangan din nating isipin ang iba. Huwag lang natin isipin ang ating sarili, kundi isipin din natin kung ano ang ating mga ideya, perspektibo o pananaw na mapapahamak o makakasakit sa ibang tao, lalong-lalo na kung patungkol ito sa mental na issue. Our right to Article 19 in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, can be limited in some circumstances. What are these? First is incitement to violence or crime. So, it is not allowed to encourage people to do illegal activities or to harm people. Second, hate speech. It is not allowed to promote violence or discrimination against specific groups. Third is obscenity, obscenity or pornography. So it is not allowed to spread this kind of uh, images or even videos. Fourth is national security. Speech that threatens a country's safety or leaks classified information. That is not allowed. For example, you are threatening a place, threatening to harm a person, or threatening to bomb a place. Fifth is defamation, libel, and slander. It is not allowed to spread fake news because it may harm someone's reputation and even professional status. So what is censorship? O sa Filipino tinatawag itong sensura. Censorship, suppression of speech, writing, or media. It is a stopping or blocking that uh, can be enforced by governments, organizations, or platforms, often justified for security, morality, and or social harmony. Can limit to diverse perspectives. Yes, it can limit to any perspectives. Types of censorship. Government censorship. This type includes the government, politics, media censorship. This includes the televisions, radio, and next is self-censorship. When we say self-censorship, you choose to not say or not say anything or not to show your views or opinions because you are afraid to be criticized of. Next is internet censorship. Internet censorship is a blockage or a stopping from a web or a web for a website. Cons of censorship limits access to important information, suppress freedom of speech and press, can be used for political control and propaganda, may hinder creativity and knowledge sharing. In conclusion, freedom of expression and censorship must be balanced. Government, media, and individuals play a role in regulation. Protecting rights while ensuring responsible speech is key. Awareness and critical thinking are essential in the digital age. And that would be all for the freedom of expression and censorship.
All right, thank you, Mr. Laurel. Let's give him a virtual applause, everyone. Moving on, our next speaker will discuss by we'll discuss privacy and security. Let's welcome Miss Maria May Satao.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Ako ba ay naririnig nyo? Bigyan nyo ako ng like sign. Okay, naririnig ako. So magandang umaga. Ngayon ay tatalakayin ko ang mahalagang paksa sa paggamit ng ICT sa edukasyon o ito ang privacy and security in ICT integration in the learning process. Habang madalas nating ginagamit ang teknolohiya sa pag-aaral, mas lumalaki rin ang panganib na ma-expose ang ating mga impormasyon. Sa presentasyong ito, pag-uusapan natin ang mga hamon, oportunidad at solusyon upang mapanatiling ligtas ang ating data sa online learning. Tinatawag ko si Ate Cyrus. Maaari mo bang i-present ang aking PowerPoint presentation? Okay, maraming salamat. So ngayon ay tatalakayin natin ang tungkol sa privacy and security in ICT integration in education. Next slide, please. So, magpapatuloy tayo. Ang ICT sa edukasyon ay malaking tulong sa ating pag-aaral. Pero may dalang panganib sa privacy at security. Ang mga online platforms tulad ng Google Classroom ay nag-iimbak ng sensitibong impormasyon. Kaya mahalagang gumamit ng strong passwords at i-enable ang 2FA para mapanatili ang ligtas na learning environment. Siguro, nagtatanong kayo kung ano ang 2FA, ating ipapaliwanag sa sunod na pagtalakay. Ngayon ay dadako naman tayo sa definition of privacy and security. Ang privacy ay ang pagkontrol kung sino ang may access sa iyong impormasyon, habang ang security ay pagprotekta sa impormasyon ito mula sa hindi otorisadong paggamit. Halimbawa na lang, ang pag-set ng access sa Google Classroom ay privacy at ang paggamit ng strong password at 2FA ay security. So pareho itong mahalaga para sa ligtas na paggamit sa ICT sa edukasyon. Ngayon ay nandito na tayo sa ika-4 na slide. Ito ang challenges of privacy and security in a classroom. So, ito ang mga karaniwang problema sa online learning. So, halimbawa dito, ang online learning ay may dalang panganib sa privacy at security. Una na dito ang data breaches. Ito ay nangyayari kapag may hindi otorisadong access sa impormasyon tulad ng grades at login credentials. So, pangalawa naman ay phishing at hacking. Ito ay ang mga peking emails o links na nagkukunwaring totoo para makuha ang inyong impormasyon. Ito ay kadalasang sinisend sa atin sa Messenger o sa ibang mga account natin tulad ng email. At pangatlo naman ay ang mahinang privacy setting. Ito ay nagiging dahilan kung bakit mas madaling makapasok ng hacker ang ating mga account. Ito ang next slide, please. Okay, salamat. Ngayon dito dumako naman tayo sa opportunities and solution. Una, paano nga ba natin masolusyonan ang mga problemang ito? Una, dapat ay gumamit ng strong passwords at 2FA. Dapat tayong gumamit ng mahirap hulaan ng mga password at mag-enable ng two-factor authentication para sa dagdag na proteksyon. Para sa kalaman ng lahat, ang 2FA ito ay dagdag na proteksyon sa account natin. Bukod sa password, kailangan nating ilagay ang code na ipapadala sa ating mga email or mga phone. Kaya kahit makuha ng hacker ang password, hindi pa rin sila makakapasok o hindi nila makukuha ang ating account. Ang pangalawa naman, ang regular na privacy audits. Kailangan nating i-review at i-update ang mga privacy setting ng mga online platform upang matiyak na secure ang impormasyon. At ang pangatlo naman ay edukasyon para sa estudyante at mga guro. So kailangan bilang mga estudyante at ang mga future na educator, kailangan nating malaman ang tamang cyber security practices para maiwasan ang mga cyber threats. So next, dito naman tayo ngayon sa privacy and security in online learning. Bakit ito mahalaga sa online learning? So sa mga online platform tulad ng Google Classroom at iba pa ay ito ay mga nag-iimbak ng mga sensitibong impormasyon ng estudyante at mga guro. At mga panganib pwedeng magkaroon ng unauthorized access. At para sa kabuuan ng privacy at security ay mahalaga upang matiyak ang ligtas na paggamit ng ICT sa edukasyon, gumamit ng strong password at regular na i-audit ang privacy setting ng online platform. Ituro sa mga estudyante at guro ang tamang cybersecurity practices at yun lamang po. Maraming salamat at naway naintindihan ninyo ang aking tinalakay.
Thank you, Miss et al. Please give her virtual applause, everyone. All right, up next, we have e-pollutants from e-waste. Let's hear from Mr. Jandale Lungay.
Okay, first of all, am I audible, everyone? Please give a thumbs up if I am audible. Okay, I guess I can be heard by all. So good morning once again. Good morning, everyone. I am Janday Lungay, and I am very honored to be with you today to talk about the hidden dangers of e-waste. So, first of all, did you know that the world generates over 50 million? Okay, I have the PPT right now. Okay, we'll be talking about the hidden dangers of e-waste. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the key points. We have the next slide. Okay, so did you know that the world generates over 50 million metric tons of e-waste every year? That's more than the weight of all commercial airplanes ever built. And yet, only about 20% of this waste is properly recycled. The rest ends up in landfills, incinerators, which means they burn it, or even worse, is dumped illegally in developing countries where it is dismantled under hazardous conditions. And now let's break down why e-waste is so dangerous. Inside every discarded smartphone, laptop, and television lies a cocktail of toxic chemicals and heavy metals that pose serious environmental and health risk. Okay, number one is heavy metals. What are the heavy metals that we can see in e-waste that is a deadly pollutant? We have first one is lead. It is found in circuit boards, lead solder, and CRT monitors. Lead is highly toxic and can cause brain damage, kidney failure, and developmental issues in children. We have next one is mercury. It is used in LCD screens, switches, and some light bulbs. Mercury poisoning can lead to neurological disorders and severe harm to the immune system. And we have the third one. We have the cadmium present in rechargeable batteries, semiconductors, and old televisions. Cadmium exposure can damage the kidneys and is linked to cancer. And we have the fourth one, arsenic, found in microchips and semiconductors. Long-term exposure to arsenic can cause skin diseases, lung problems, and other severe health issues. Okay, we have the next second one. We have the toxic chemicals. What are the chemicals that that can be found in e-waste that is also a deadly pollutant? We have number one, brominated flame retardants, or the BFRs. These chemicals are used to reduce fire risk in plastics, circuit boards, and casings. However, they interfere with hormones and have been linked to developmental disorders and cancer. So as you have heard, retardants, which is used in fire. As we can see, if there is a wildfire, then we can see those airplanes as dropping this pink-colored substance into the ground. That is a retardant. So it is also found in electronic waste. Can we have second one is chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, once commonly used in cooling systems. CFCs contribute to ozone layer depletion, increasing global warming and climate change. So it is commonly found in refrigerators. And then the third one, we have the polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, which are found in older transformers and capacitors. PCBs are highly toxic and carcinogenic, affecting the immune, reproductive, and nervous system. And then we have the resistant organic pollutants, or these when e-waste is burned in open pits, and it releases dioxins and furans, extremely harmful compounds that can cause cancer, reproductive, disorders, and immune system damage. So these pollutants do not break down easily. So hindi po sila madali pong what do you call this? Hindi po sila madaling parang sa atin sa Bisaya, hindi sila dali malata o mawala. And then instead, they accumulate in the food chain, meaning that toxic effects are long-lasting and widespread. So they accumulate over time, and then they are slowly destroying our immune system and our environment. So we also have here the environmental impact of e-waste. So we're not just talking about human health. E-waste is poisoning our planet. So if it is poisoning humans, then how much more is in an environment? The number one is soil contamination. When electronic devices break down in landfills, heavy metals and chemicals seep into the soil, harming plant life and reducing soil fertility. We have the second one, water pollution. Rainwater carries these toxins into rivers, lakes, and groundwater sources, endangering aquatic life and contaminating water supplies. We have the third one, the last one, air pollution. Burning e-waste releases toxic fumes and greenhouse gases, contributing to climate change and respiratory diseases in surrounding communities. So it is a vicious cycle. The more e-waste we generate, the more we damage our environment and the more we risk our own health in the process. So what can we do about it? Now that you now that you might be wondering, what can I do about this? The truth is, while e-waste is a massive global problem, we all have a role to play in solving it. And here I have 3 key steps that we can take. Number one is responsible recycling. Instead of tossing all the electronics in the trash, we need to find proper e-waste recycling programs. Number two, support sustainable technology. We as consumers have the power to demand change. So we must support companies that produce eco-friendly, repairable, and recyclable electronics. And the third one is raise awareness and advocate for policies. The more people understand the dangers of e-waste, the more pressure we can put on, on industries and governments to implement sustainable solutions. Policies such as extended producer responsibility, require manufacturers to take responsibility for the disposal and recycling of their products. By advocating for such policies, we can create a system where e-waste is properly managed. That's all, and once again, good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Lungay. Let's give him a virtual applause, everyone. All right. Let us now proceed to the question and answer portion.
So thank you everyone. Thank you all speakers who online for. So let's move to the question and answer portion. So now we open the floor to question. Participant, please click the uh,
Okay, we now open the floor for questions. Participants, please click the hand button below if you have question. Mr. Arances, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So this question is for Miss Maria Satao. So my question is, how can teachers and students work together to protect privacy and security when using ICT in the classroom? So I repeat, how can teachers and students work together to protect privacy and security when using ICT in the classroom?
Okay, thank you for that question, Mike. For me, teachers and students can protect privacy and security in the classroom by using strong passwords and changing them often. They should avoid sharing personal information online and only use trusted websites and learning platforms. That should be all.
so thank you, Miss Sat out. So next question, Miss Joanna Camille. I recognize you, Miss Joanna. What is your question?
So this question is for Mr. Daniel Laurel. So my question is, in today's digital world, where social media plays a major role in shaping opinions and spreading information, should social media platforms have the authorities to regulate speech?
Good morning. Can you see me? Thank you. So in today's digital world, social media platforms should have some rules to stop hate speech, fake news, and harmful content. But they should not control everything. People say, as this could limit free speech too much, there should be clear and fair guidelines.
So thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you.
So I will recognize Mr. John Raven. What is your question, Mr. John Raven? Mr. John Raven Sidian, you are recognized.
Hi, hello, good noon. I have a questions. This question is for Mr. Calvarete. So, how does data retention impact personal privacy and civil liberties? That's all.
So, as we know, as characterized earlier, data retention is the entity's way of storing your knowledge for their personal use. So, by that feature, it also presents you to the idea that that might be misused and be used in other contexts that you prior agreed upon. So, in a way, that risk of data retention infringes upon your privacy to be responsible and have your data for yourself and not have it commercialized or like used in malicious ways. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Card.
So Miss Jenny Sereno, you are recognized to throw a question about our speakers.
Good morning, everyone. This question is for Carl. What are some examples? Again, what are some examples of surveillance technology used today?
Hello, thank you for that question. So, an example of surveillance being used today is the CCTV, or you're familiar with those cameras everywhere. Those cameras actually record the activities of that given area and that video to be stored. So, that is an example of a surveillance, a basic form of surveillance today. Another thing is your data records that could be from school institution or to hospital institution. So those are just some of the examples of the surveillance and data retention being used today.
So Miss Lailani Barel, you are highly recognized to throw a question. Miss Lailani. Okay. So I will call another one, Mr. You're Mr. Yung.
Good morning, everyone.
So my question is for Daniel Laurel, all about freedom of expression and censorship. So my question is, what is the advantage and disadvantage of censorship?
The advantage of freedom of expression and censorship, no? People can share ideas, learn from different opinions, and stand up for their beliefs. But the disadvantages of it is some pe- some people may spread false or harmful information, leading to problems. It can in
Thank you,
censorship.
Mr. Laurel.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Cindy, please go ahead.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So this question is for Miss Satao. My question is, what do you suggest we do to protect our personal data and online accounts from security threats like hacking, phishing, wait, phishing, and identity theft? Again, what do you suggest we do to protect our personal data and online accounts from security threats like hacking, phishing, and identity theft?
Okay, no? For me, I suggest na gumamit ng unique at mahirap hulaan na passwords at iwasan ang pag-click sa mga suspicious links. Importante rin na mag-enable ng 2FA at regular na i-review ang mga private settings. So, yun lang po.
Thank you, Miss Satao.
Okay, Mr. Agne, go ahead.
Good day, everyone. So this question is for Mr. Lungay. So how does waste pollutants affect human health and the environment? Again, how does waste pollutants affect human health and the environment?
Okay, thank you for that question. Sa wakas, may nagtanong na rin. So, when this kinds of pollutants, when we inhale it, because it is the most common way of taking it into our system, itong mga pollutants na ito, we inhale it, just like what I have said, especially lead or mercury, when we take it on, it does not easily, it cannot be easily eroded into our system. So that's why it stays there for a long time, and then it is slowly but surely damaging our organs or everything. So it is we cannot feel the effects immediately, especially in small amounts, but in large amounts it can be deadly or deadly in an instance, but in small amounts it can easily cause this discomfort. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lungay.
So, Miss John,
Miss Shakira, please.
My question is for Daniel Laurel Khan. Should social media platforms responsible for spreading of misinformation?
Thank you. For me, uh, it is responsible for the social media and also the user because in social media platforms should stop the hate speech and misinformation because we can cause harm. But on the user, meron kasing guidelines kasi bago tayo gawa ng account for a social media. And alam kong It is a responsible also for user to read the guidelines on the social media platforms. Thank you.
Okay, next, Miss Alvarez.
So good morning, everyone. This question is for Miss Setao. The question is, how does social media impact an individual's privacy? Again, how does social media impact an individual's privacy?
Okay. Ang sagot ko lang ay ang social media minsan ay naglalantad ng personal info kahit naka-private ang account. Kaya ang mabuting gawin ay limitahan ang pagbabahagi sa social media at siguraduhin updated ang privacy settings. So yun lang po ang aking masasagot.
Okay, next, Mr. Madera.
Okay, so good morning. My question for Ms. Satao is, how can individuals avoid being tracked online? Again, how can individuals avoid being tracked online?
Okay, no. Para maiwasan ang tracking, pwedeng gumamit ng incognito mode at irregular na i-clear ang cookies. Pwede rin gumamit ng VPN para mas maging secure ang online activity. So yun lamang po ang parang mai-suggest ko para maka-avoid tayo sa na ma-track online. Yan lang po.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Satao.
Okay, before we close, let's hear the concluding messages from our speakers. Speakers.
Hello. So I'm going to start first. So to conclude this session, I'm going to reiterate my platform earlier and the call to action to balancing security and privacy. So first, we must promote transparency, and security measures um from these changes, but also from their reasons for we must to the emerging biometrics and also we must observe the ethical guidelines that grounds us to what makes us unique or what makes us different from these um from each other and the of data ownership and share.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barete. He's choppy, I think, because of his connections. So let's proceed to the next speaker, Ms. Atao.
Okay, this is an amazing discussion today, no? So I hope this session has shed light on the importance of safeguarding our personal data.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Atao. Let's proceed to Mr. Daniel Laurel.
Okay, I'm your third speaker, no? And this to be a reminder for everyone that freedom of expression and censorship must be balanced. kinakailangan natin itong balansehin, lalong-lalo na kung patungkol ito sa ating mga ideya, perspektibo at pananaw. Ugaliin natin na isipin na bago natin i-post online ay tingnan muna natin kung meron ba tayong makakasakit na iba o ang atin bang mga information ay totoo, reliable, at kawas-kawasto, no? Na walang misinformation. And to awareness to everyone that on this digital age, we should be mindful to our security and to our responsible on our rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laurel. Mr. Lungay, go ahead.
So good morning once again. So this will be my parting statement for today's forum. So we live in a world that thrives on information and technology, but we must not let progress come at the cost of our planet and health. E-waste is not just an environmental issue. It is a human issue. Each one of us has a choice. Will we continue to turn a blind eye to the dangers of e-waste, or will we take action to create a cleaner and healthier future? The power to change this lies in our hands. Let's start today, people, by recycling responsibly, making informed purchasing decisions, and spreading awareness. Together, we can tackle the e-waste crisis and build a more sustainable world for all. Thank you, and once again, good morning.
Thank you to our speakers, moderator, technical team, and all participants for a meaningful discussion. We hope this forum has helped us understand the challenges and opportunities of ICT in education. Let's continue using technology responsibly and effectively in our learning journey. Have a great day, everyone.